Hi, Nicknamed Melita, and this is my channel, The Midnight Librarian. Today I will be doing my 2022 most anticipated books of the year. I don't know if that title was correct. I've seen this go around a couple times, but basically I'm just listing off some of my most anticipated books of 2022 for the first quarter. January, February, March till March. I can do math. Let's get into these, and I apologize if I look over this way. I am going to need help in remembering what all I have listed that I'm anticipating for, as well as what they're about. So first one is, I actually have a physical copy of this already because it was an early release for Book of the Month, and that is A Flicker in the Dark by Stacey Willingham. I have had my eye on this for a little bit. I happened to see it on, I believe Lero had it on at first, and I'm like, ooh, what's this? Because the cover really intrigued me, and actually having it in person, I'm even more intrigued. I believe we are following Chloe Davis. When she's 12, 6 teenage girls went missing in her small Louisiana town. By the end of summer, her own father had confessed to the crimes and was put away for life, leaving Chloe and the rest of the family to grapple with the truth and try to move forward while dealing with the aftermath. 20 years later, Chloe is a psychologist in Baton Rouge and getting ready for her wedding, while she finally has a fragile grasp on the happiness she's worked so hard to achieve. But when a local girl goes missing and then another, the terrifying summer comes crashing back. This is a debut novel for Stacey Willingham, and I'm interested, I'm excited. And this one is out January 11th, but like I said, if you go through Book of the Month, it's an early release for them. Next is The Anatomy of a Love Story by Dana Schwartz. We're following two characters, Hazel Sennett and Jack Kerr. Hazel would like to be a surgeon, but this is during 1817, where ladies aren't known or encouraged to be doctors at all. She makes a deal with a renowned doctor that if she can pass her medical examinations, that she'll be allowed into the university to study as an anatomist. However, because she's kicked out for being the wrong gender, all she has is her books. When she happens upon Jack Kerr, who is she now realizes can help her because he's a resurrectionist. Resurrectionist is someone who digs up bodies from graves and sells them to anatomists for study. So this one comes out January 18th. This next one is actually from an author I read from before, and that is I Must Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. Ruta Sepetys wrote Salt to the Sea, which was a World War II historical fiction. She also wrote Fountains of Silence, which was another historical fiction set in Spain, in Madrid in 1957 while they were under a fascist dictatorship. I Must Betray You is another historical fiction written in 1989 in Romania. Communist regimes are crumbling across Europe. 17-year-old Christian Florescu dreams of becoming a writer, but Romanians aren't free to dream. They are bound by rules and force. In a country governed by isolation and fear, Christian is blackmailed to become an informant, and he must decide whether to expose those he has and betray everyone and everything he loves, or use his position to creatively undermine the notoriously evil dictator of Eastern Europe. I've enjoyed Ruta Sepetys' work before, so I'm pretty excited about this. It comes out February 1st. Next, we have my first horror anticipation, and this is The Violence by Delilah Dawson. I actually was brought aware of this. I follow Shane Hawk on Twitter. I believe either he or Stephen Graham Jones retweeted this book, but I'm really excited about it. Oh, and I've read from her before. Okay, I was like, this name sounds really familiar. Delilah Dawson wrote the Star Wars Phasma, which I actually found the writing to be very well done, but I didn't enjoy the story of Phasma very much, actually. But it was fairly creepy, so I'm kind of even more excited for this book. So The Violence, we are following Chelsea Martin, who appears to be the perfect housewife. She's married to her high school sweetheart, the mother of 2 daughters, and is the keeper of an immaculate home. However, Chelsea's husband has turned their house into a prison, has been abusing her for years. When an illness comes in, this illness ends up known as the violence. This illness causes the infected to experience sudden explosive bouts of animalistic rage and attack anyone in their path. But for Chelsea, this chaos might be a blessing. and actually have been meaning to get another copy of Star Wars Phasma, but The Violence comes out also February 1st of 2022. Another February 1st release is from another author I've read before and enjoyed her book, was When We Lost Our Heads by Heather O'Neill. Heather O'Neill wrote The Lonely Hearts Hotel, and I actually really enjoyed that. It was one of my favorite books of the year that it came out. I believe the year I read it. I can't remember. It's been a couple of years. Another historical fiction set in Canada, following two girls that are best friends, but they're like frenemies. They really just like battle it out with each other. Marie Antoine is charismatic, spoiled daughter of a sugar baron. She's the leader of all the children in the Golden Mile until Sadie Arnett, dark-haired, sly, and brilliant, moves into the neighborhood. This is set in 1873, where they are immediately united by their passion and intensity, and they attract and repel each other in ways that light each other on fire. Soon their childlike games take on a thrill of danger and then become deadly. Okay, even the synopsis is giving me like shivers. So this is another horror, but it's also science fiction by S.A. Barnes and Stacy Cade. It's called Dead Silence. This I've seen a couple people get physical arcs for this, and it comes out February 8th. But it's supposedly Titanic meets The Shining, an SF horror novel in which a woman and her crew board a decades-lost luxury cruiser and find the wreckage of a nightmare that hasn't yet ended. A ghost ship, a salvage crew, unspeakable horrors. That's all I want to know for this book. Oh my goodness. That's all I want to know. Yep. This one seemed really interesting. I really like the cover, and I think that's ultimately what like pushed me into making this an anticipated read. But it's called Bluebird by C.L. Perlo. But it's science fiction and queer. Supposedly lesbian gunslinger fights spies in space. That feels like too much mashup for me, but at the same time I'm fairly interested. 3 factions vie for control of the galaxy. Rig, a gunslinging, thieving rebel with a cause, doesn't give a damn about them, and she hasn't looked back since abandoning her faction 3 years ago. That is, until her former faction sends her a message: return what she has stolen from them or they'll kill her twin sister. That's all I really want to know going into that one. This one comes out February 8th. This other one's an anthology, which I'm never sure if I'm going to like or not. I mean, I feel like that's with any anthologies. But this one I'm pretty excited about. This one's called Reclaim the Stars, and it's edited by Zoraida Cordova. I have other works by Zoraida that I would like to get to as well, but this one sounds really interesting. Reclaim the Stars is a collection of best-selling and acclaimed YA authors that take the Latin American diaspora to places fantastical and out of this world, from princesses warring in space to the all-too-near devastation of climate change to haunting ghost stories in Argentina and mermaids off the coast of the Caribbean. So it says it has science fiction and fantasy that breaks borders and realms and proves that stories are truly universal, and the cover is gorgeous. This one comes out February 15th. Next is a book that I'm pretty sure a couple people have had on their list. Kayla from Books and Lala and Jordaline from Jordaline Reads particularly had this book on their list. Manhunt by Gretchen Felker Martin follows Beth and Fran, who spend their days traveling the ravaged New England coast, hunting feral men and harvesting their organs in a gruesome effort to ensure they'll never face the same fate. Robbie lives with his gun and one hard-learned motto: other people aren't safe. After a brutal incident entwines the 3 of them, this found family of survivors must navigate murderous turfs, a sociopathic billionaire, bunker brat, and an awkward relationship dynamics, all while outrunning packs of feral men and their own demons. This one sounds fun, honestly. Horror and queer, and is out February 22nd. Next one is also out February 22nd, and that is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea by Axie. Deadly storms have ravaged Mina's homeland for generations. Floods sweep away entire villages, while bloody wars were waged over the few remaining resources. Her people believe the sea god, once their protector, now curses them with death and despair. In an attempt to appease him, each year a beautiful maiden is thrown into the sea to serve as the sea god's bride, in hopes that one day the true bride will be chosen and end the suffering. Many believe that the beloved Mina's older brothers, June, may be the legendary true bride, but on the night that she is supposed to be sacrificed, June follows her out to sea, even knowing that to interfere with a death sentence will have terrible results, but to save her brother, Mina throws herself into the water in his beloved's stead. Swept away into the spirit realm and magical city of lesser gods and mythical beasts, Mina seeks out the sea god. So this one sounds really exciting. I'm very interested in this, and this is supposed to be fantasy, young adult, retelling, and historical fiction. This next one is also out February 22nd, and it is Dead Collections by Isaac Feldman. A whirlwind romance between an eccentric archivist and a grieving widow explores what it means to be at home in your own body in this clever, humorous, and heartfelt novel. When archivist Soul meets Elsie, the larger-than-life widow of a moderately famous television writer who's come to donate her wife's papers, there's an instant spark. But Soul has a secret. He suffers from an illness called vampirism and hides from the sun by living in his basement office. On their way to falling in love, the two traverse grief, delve into the internet fandom they once unknowingly shared, and navigate the realities of transphobia and the stigmas of carrying the vampire disease. This one just sounds really cute. The fact that one of them's an archivist really intrigues me, as well as the cover. So, yeah. It's supposed to be fantasy, LGBTQ, and adults and vampires. So, yeah. This next one is also out February 22nd, and that is Daughters of a Dead Empire. This is by Carolyn Tara O'Neill. This is a historical fiction / retelling, a debut book, a thrilling alternate history set in the Russian Revolution. Russia, 1918, the execution of Tsar Nicholas. The empire crumbles and Russia is on the edge of civil war. The poor are devouring the rich. Anna, a bourgeois girl, I don't know, narrowly escaped the massacre of her entire family in Yekaterinburg. Desperate to get away from the Bolsheviks, she offers a peasant girl a diamond to take her to as far south as possible, not realizing that the girl is a communist herself. With her brother in desperate need of a doctor, Evgenia accepts Anna's offer and suddenly finds herself on the wrong side of the war. So, this one also sounds interesting. I don't read a whole lot of Russian stuff, but I have been intrigued by them. So, now going into March, we have The Book of Living Secrets by Madeline Rue. This story follows two girls who transport themselves in the world of their favorite book only to encounter the sinister alternate reality that awaits them. No matter how different best friends Adele and Connie are, one thing they've always had in common is their love for a little-known gothic romance novel called Moira. Moira? So when the girls are tempted by a mysterious stranger to enter the world of the book, they hardly suspect it will work, but suddenly they are in the world of Moira, living among characters they've obsessed about for years. Except all is not how they remembered it. The world has been turned upside down. The lavish balls and star-crossed love affairs are now enlaced with unspeakable horrors. The girls realize that something dark is lurking behind their foray into fiction, and they will have to rewrite their own arcs if they hope to escape the nightmare with their lives. So this is fantasy, young adult, and horror, and is out March 1st. And this next one is Red Paint, the ancestral autobiography of a coastalish punk by Sasha Lapointe. An Indigenous artist blends the aesthetics of punk rock with the traditional spiritual practices of the women in her lineage in this bold contemporary journey to reclaim her heritage and unleash her power and voice while searching for a permanent home. This one I actually also learned about first on Libro FM, but it sounds fun and interesting, and I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for all of these, obviously, so if I say that a lot, I apologize. And this one is out March 8th. Next is another mystery thriller, The Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I have not read Simone St. James before. I know that they have another book that was available through a Book of the Month. I believe it's like Sundown Hotel or something. I didn't end up getting it. It is still something that I am curious of reading. This one just kind of intrigues me more for some reason. It's set in 1977 following Claire Lake, Let's see. A true crime blogger gets more than she bargained for while interviewing the woman acquitted of 2 cold case slayings. Set in Oregon, which for some reason I have an affinity with. Even though I've only been there a couple times, but it's just to the north of us. So, like, I don't know. So yeah, I don't really want to know much going into this, and is out March 15th. This next one I've also seen on a couple people's anticipated lists, and this is A Magic Steeped in Poison. It's the first book in a new series called The Book of Tea by Judy I. Lin. This is a fantasy young adult based on mythology, and we are following Ning. The only thing worse than losing her mother is knowing that it's her own fault. She was the one who unknowingly brewed the poison tea that killed her, the poison tea that now threatens to also take her sister Shu. So when Ning hears of a competition to find the kingdom's greatest Shenongshi, masters of ancient and magical art of tea making, she travels to the imperial city to compete. The winner will receive a favor from the princess, which may be Ning's only chance to save her sister's life. It sounds like there's some backstabbing competitors, bloody court politics, and a mysterious and handsome boy with shocking secrets. That one is all out March 22nd, and our next one is What We Harvest. This is a horror young adult mystery. For fans of Wilder Girls comes a nightmarish debut guaranteed to keep you up through the night, about an idyllic small town poisoned by its past and one girl who must fight the strange disease that's slowly claiming everyone she loves. We're following Wren, who owes everything she has to her home, Hollow's End, a centuries-old picture-perfect American town. Tourists travel miles to marvel at the miracle crops, including the shimmering, iridescent wheat of Wren's family farm, until 5 months ago. That's when the quicksilver mercury blight first surfaced, poisoning the farms of Hollow's End one by one. It began by consuming the crops, thick silver sludge bleeding from the earth. Next were the animals, infected livestock, and wild creatures alike staggered off into the woods by day, only to return at night, their eyes fogged white, leering from the trees. Ew. Wren is one of the last locals standing, and the blight has finally come for her too. Now the only one she can turn to is the last person she wants to call her ex, Derek. Derek, no. Also an interesting cover. Really like it. Really spooky. Loving the purples. So yeah, this should be fun. This one's also out March 22nd. And finally, this last one is also out March 22nd, and that is The Bone Orchard by Sarah Mueller. A fantastic whodunit set in a lush gothic world of secrets and magic, where a dying emperor charges his favorite concubine with solving his own murder and preventing the culprit, which undoubtedly is one of his 3 terrible sons, from taking control of the empire. This is fantasy, adult, mystery, gothic. So the sun sounds really interesting. Also a cover that I like. I don't like the color of the font is the thing. But the bone, the hand is really interesting. So yeah. Those are my most anticipated books for the first quarter of 2022. If you have any particular anticipated reads, let me know down in the description or in the comments down below. I would love to hear them. Otherwise, I hope that you are doing well and are in the mental mindset to enjoy your reading. I will see you in my next video very soon. Chew.